to talk a little bit about Alibaba, right? So obviously Alibaba has been on a downtrend this past couple of weeks, past couple of months, I
months.
believe. Months, yes, right. We even had one of our market updates where we're talking about a few people buying into Alibaba during this downtime, and it surged a little bit, right? Last week, 10% it surged. Now, right, obviously they have restructured a little bit. They have changed their CFO, and right, and maybe let me take you through that, right? So first, the
Yep.
CFO has changed to Toby.
Hmm.
Um, Secondly, they're looking to sort of realign and re-strategize on how they go about their business. So Alibaba is going to be split into two: one focusing on China commerce, one focusing on international commerce. Right. So
Okay.
brands like AliExpress, Lazada, those will stay in the international section,
Hmm.
whereas everything focused on China will stay in that company in that form, sort of
Okay.
split it up. According to them, it will improve supply chain costs, right? And that's effectively all we got from
How does that work, right?
from this.
Like just spitballing here. How,
Yeah.
is it just different cost centers, right? Shared services. How could this conceivably play out?
Honestly,
Do
I
do
I
do we
don't
know?
know. I honestly don't know. I think it's maybe it's just looking at the books and sort of coming up with it, or are they taking some sort of other approach, right, to this Chinese company, right? Are
Mm.
they sort of increasing or decreasing their cost because they're purchasing other companies, or the merchants, for example, will be paying their own shipping, or part of it at least. Do you know anything about this, Anthony?
No, no, not at all.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just curious. The only thing I
Mm.
know about this is that this they have this company called Chai Niao, which is uh, well, vegetable bird, I guess, if we are translating it literally,
Okay.
which is their logistics arm, right? Essentially, like you have Amazon who do, and the Amazon part that does logistics. Alibaba is the same thing. Just
Hmm.
to move between warehouses, internalize the cost and stuff like that.
Right. Cool. Yeah, so I'm not entirely sure, but they did mention this. I guess we'll see in next quarter when they do report, right, and tell us how it's improved or how it's decreased.
Yeah.
But I think one thing to note here, and specifically onto why it has surged, is because there were fears that the Chinese government were forcing countries, or rather the
Mhm.
companies, to delist their shares, right? We saw it with Didi, that we just spoke about, and there was all this stuff, the crackdown that we had on education a few months ago, and how we expected to sort of, or rather how the people expected it to move towards commerce and the big conglomerates. I think one thing good to note, though, is that the China government came out, or the regulatory commission came out and said that that's completely misleading. That's not what we want to do. And as soon as they said that, it shot back up.
Yeah, I'm glad they said it. I mean, I wish they could have said it months ago before all this happened. To be honest, I have Alibaba, right, and Tencent,
Right.
and a lot of other Hong Kong shares. But yeah, I mean, look, it always was a long shot. Again, to me, the whole VIE structure, getting made illegal
Mm,
retrospectively was always a Western media narrative actually that would have never happened, right? China would not allow them to do it, not at this stage. Maybe 20 years down the line, when they have their own developed capital markets ecosystem, they could just to incentivize people to stay in China. But now, nah, that was always just building a straw man and demolishing it and going hooray. So,
yeah.
so I'm
Yeah.
glad there's clarity. But I mean, maybe just circling back a bit. I mean, we have been talking about earnings. Alibaba has had earnings. What's their business like now? I mean, Taobao to me is huge and is a source we go to for cheap stuff. But yeah, how is their business operating?
Yeah, that's a very good question, right? So we actually saw slower growth during the
Mhm.
quarter, right? Something called CMR, which is the, correct me, Anthony, this is the merchandise revenue. What does CMR stand for again?
I think it's customer management revenue, something like that. It's about
Custom.
their add-on services to vendors essentially.
Yes, so that has thanks for that. So that has actually slower growth, or rather, it's slowed down
Mm-hmm.
in that sense,
Okay.
as well as gross merchandising value or
Yep.
gross merchandise value has also
Yep.
been slower, right? So
Okay.
that in effect, right, if we can just distill down into
Mm-hmm.
4 key points, we have seen lower than expected gross merchandise value, right? It's probably due to the competition. It's probably due to the markets. People are a little volatile. People are a little wary. Right. I guess these cheap China goods as well. They're probably looking at other stuff. So I think one of the key things here is that it's it was expected to be a lot higher than it actually is in terms
Yep.
of monetization in the retail market in China. So that's one.
Okay.
Number two, they are trying to execute on strategic investments, but it's
Mm-hmm.
not rolling out to be exactly as it is. Right, it's coming out
Okay.
weaker, so less than expected. And number three, they also saw, Ali Cloud. It's a big thing. Obviously, you need to
Yep.
you need to go for it. Alibaba's massive in China. Ali Cloud, at least, that has also seen a growth deceleration. So even
Okay.
though we did see a price increase, it's good to take note that in terms of the market or in terms of the business, these are the things that has been happening, right? Which
Yep.
also could explain why they're trying to split and trying to reorganize themselves.
Yeah, I mean, just look at them and C, right? C is pretty much not in China, but everywhere else,
Yeah.
in Asia, and it's going gangbusters. I don't think C
Mm,
actually has greater GMV than or greater profits or greater revenue than Alibaba. I haven't looked, but I highly doubt so. But just in terms of market cap, they're about there. Which begs the question: what is the market thinking? Come on, this is
absolutely.
ridiculous.
We were circling back to the exact first point we talked about, right?
Yeah, well, yes, just that C has taken a beating with the other growth shares. So maybe
Of
the
course.
market is waking up and we are making a bit more sense now. But yeah, good on the business. Personally, I'm slightly surprised by the cloud thing, given that they literally have very little competition, right? AWS is
Mm,
barely in there due to US China tensions. Azure, Microsoft also not really there because
nope.
of
Yeah.
US China tensions. So what are they
We know
doing?
there's
We
no
we need a
Google.
stock. Yeah, there's no Google as well. There's no Digital Ocean. We need a stock breakout on the Chinese cloud market, right? Because we look at cloud
Definitely.
adoption in the Western and non-China world, and it's accelerating. What's China doing? Is it just different, or have the winners just not been there? And it's a $1 trillion market that a winner could take, and poof, that's a company that we want to be in.
Absolutely. Definitely.
Cool.
It's I think it's good to keep note of this. Coconuts, if you're listening, good to just keep an eye on this, especially if you're in the China market. The cloud space is definitely a good area to look at least in the next quarter or so.
Yeah, and sorry, just one last point for me. I mean, we talk about sales, talk about GMV, and go, oh yeah, it's growing, it's not. But just to give a sense of scale, right? Shopify, which is I think the second largest retailer in the US, at least the other counterpoint to Amazon, essentially. Black Friday over Thanksgiving, Black Friday weekend, Cyber Monday, they announced 2.9 billion, I think, in GMV USD, right? And that was like,
Right.
whoa, historical, big, largest ever result. Alibaba, Singles Day, 11/11, 84 billion,
Oh wow.
nearly 30 times, right? That's the scale that we are talking about. And they're similar market caps. So again, what's the market doing? It's you do this type of relative, comparisons, and you go, wait a minute, how does this ever make sense? And I don't know, right? Maybe growth is slowing, people don't like it, and we see Alibaba as a value share. I can see that point. But yeah, I
Mm.
think it's a name to keep note of, right? Given how bad the price action has been.